Good morning, folks. We can begin. Fantastic. Thank you for coming. You are so lucky. I am absolutely so impressed with Mr. Robinson and Ms. Strickland for exposing you to such an amazing time period in American history. Really, when they came to me and asked me that, I was astonished they even knew about it. Absolutely agreed to put it right on the spot. The Harlem Renaissance is, Harlem, first of all, for my students who are not aware, is a small community within Manhattan, New York City. New York City is made up of 5 huge towns, if you will. Where I'm from is called Brooklyn, which is about the size of this island, if you can imagine. New York City is about 12 to 14 million people. I'm not quite sure of the statistics right now, but for those of you from Hawaii, you probably have no idea, no concept of the number of people, the magnitude, or the burden of life. So again, I am so impressed. In fact, would you please put your hands together and applaud Ms. Robinson and Mr. I have a picture that is very dear to me. I'm going to pass it around. I want you to observe it. Please take care of it. It was taken in Harlem. It was sent to me about 5 years ago by my aunt. It's a picture of my mother, father, and aunt, and older brother, taken in Harlem. You'll notice in the background there is some African-American art in the background, which this is all about. Harlem Renaissance was a period in about 1917 to about 1940, where African Americans, because of the tremendous stress that they were under due to racial tensions, came together inside New York City to bond, basically, and to develop their creativity. I'm talking artists, dancers, musicians, poets, writers. Great writers came out of this time period. They came together because the outside world, outside of the African American community, was very dangerous for them. You being from Hawaii with so many racial mixes, it's quite natural for you to be together. When I came up in New York City, it was quite dangerous. And my parents were very strict, and thank goodness for it. They basically saved my life because it was a very rough time between the two races. The Harlem Renaissance was fascinating for me. When I went to school in upstate New York at the Crane School of Music. To explore my dream in life was to become a musician and a film composer. The Harlem Renaissance was something that was just an inspiration. I'm going to show you today about 5 or 6 people who were products of the Harlem Renaissance, and they became world famous for their art and craft. They're all musicians and singers, and some of you may have heard of them, some of you probably never heard of them. Those of you who are into music right now, you probably won't understand a thing I'm playing today, but what I want you to do is just relax, learn the art of listening, where you calm your spirit and you just listen. This is my Japanese class. Those of you back there, I'm going to ask them to not speak Japanese, please, so that you don't confuse people. Don't show off the Japanese. It's, oh, hey, I told him this earlier. That we're going to show off our Japanese. Yeah, yeah. Don't do that, please. This is a picture I took off the internet recently of the Harlem Renaissance. It's also called the New Negro Period. Again, it was an explosion of creativity that came out of New York City at the time. Next slide, please. This is Duke Ellington. Real name, I believe, was Mercer Ellington. He had an orchestra, not in the classical sense of violins and strings and cellos, which many of you might not be exposed to at such a young age. It was an orchestra in the sense of his writing skills, how he arranged for trumpets, and trombones, and saxophones, and piano, and bass, and drums. He was acclaimed, he was honored for many, many years, up to about the 1970s. I believe he died in 78, something like that. At the age of 70, excuse me, in the 70s, I believe. His music, I will demonstrate a little for you right now. This is a song called Satin Doll. I wanted to play something new for you guys. You're okay? Okay. Satin Doll was actually written by Duke Ellington, this person, and Billy Strayhorn, and Johnny Mercer. They were famous. Billy Strayhorn was a famous singer at the time. Johnny Mercer wrote many, many famous tunes. You probably never heard of them. You might have heard some of them on the radio. But anyway, this is Satin Doll. What I